So I guess I'll tell everyone how I got into the business. I didn't have a weight loss journey, so my story doesn't begin with, me needing to come to Beachbody looking for help as far as my weight loss is concerned. Actually, it came for a financial reason. As you mentioned, I'm a fifth grade math teacher, and I have two kids. They're 10 and 5, and my husband and I got married pretty young. We were 22, and along the way, we've just made some really poor financial decisions that kind of got us into a pretty good heaping amount of debt. And so right around the time I joined Beachbody, my husband said, we're never going to get out of debt if we continue this way. And you have summers off. Maybe you should get a second job in the summer. And I didn't want to get a second job in the summer. Anybody who's an educator knows that what we do throughout the year is really taxing, and we kind of enjoy those summers off, and I just didn't really want to do that. So I started thinking about, okay, what could I do that I would still enjoy that could bring in some extra money into this family? And I was a gym rat. I would go to the gym, after work every day, Monday through Friday. And so I thought, well, maybe I could do group fitness and teach classes. So I looked into that, and I went to a turbo kick training, which is where I met this most beautiful woman with this amazing blonde hair. And if anyone ever has seen Jackie Bull, then they know exactly what I'm talking about. And so she was the presenter there. And during lunchtime, I decided to sit down and talk with her. So she started talking about Beachbody with me, and honestly, I had never heard of it. She asked me if I heard of P90X, and I said maybe. Honestly, it might have been one of those people that called it PX90. I didn't really know. But I knew that I believed in her, and I believed in everything she said. So I went home that night, and I looked at her website, and she and I got on the phone and talked for about an hour. And I was so excited, and I was going to join. And I told my husband, and he told me no. That's direct marketing. You're not doing that. You're not a salesperson. This is a scam. You can't do this. And so I said, okay. But in the back of my mind, I thought, no, it's not a scam, and I believe her, and I really want to do this. So the following week, I met another superstar. I met Melissa McAllister. And so she was a Beachbody coach, and at that same training, there was like 5 other people, and I kept thinking, geez, if there's all these people doing this, there has to be something pretty fantastic about it. So I still kind of gave it a little more thought, and I went to work, and one of my coworkers said, hey, have you ever heard of Turbo Jam? And that was it. That was like the fate that sealed it for me. I had never really heard about any of these programs before, and all of a sudden I was meeting all these people, and it just kept happening. So as a teacher, I get paid once a month, and I decided I'm going to use my own money, my own paycheck, and I'm going to become a Beachbody coach. So 1 month later, April 15th, 2010, I'll never forget the date, that's when I just kind of jumped in and decided that I was going to be a Beachbody coach. So I jumped in, got on Shakeology Home Direct, and I became Emerald in 30 days because that's what you were supposed to do. But I kind of stayed there stagnant because I wasn't drinking Shakeology myself. In my mind, I was already a really fit person. I've never had a weight issue. I grew up in a family where my dad was a bodybuilder and my mom was into aerobics, and I was a dancer. So health and fitness has been a non-negotiable since I was a kid. I grew up eating chicken and putting things in the juicer, and so I just have never had a weight issue. So in my mind, I thought, I can't drink a meal replacement shake every day. I'll disintegrate. I can't get much smaller than I already am. So what happened was I was trying to promote this product that I wasn't taking myself. So I had some success at my elementary school. A lot of women just knew that I was fit and that if I said that they should drink this product, well, then they would. And so I was doing some of the right things, and I was maybe in the right place, but it was just going about it completely the wrong way. So when Jeff announced that, it took me 7 months to Diamond, as I look back on that, it's almost kind of like, wow, that's crazy long time, especially when we think about the whole 90-day to Diamond program. But that's where I was at. I wasn't doing all the things that, Jackie was telling me that I needed to do. I wasn't following that game plan. So it was about in November of 2010, there was a game plan event in Fort Worth, which is a little over an hour for me. I didn't really know anybody, and nobody knew who I was, but I just decided, you know what, I'm going to go. I need to be there. If I'm ever going to make anything of this and make more than $14 a week, I really have to get myself to that. And it was in that room that everything clicked, and my business has never been the same since. I can remember this specific moment, and I shared it with her actually at Summit. Caroline Van Zant got up on stage to share her success story, and she didn't really know me at the time, but I knew her because we both teach at the same gym. And she said, I started in April of 2010, and I'm a diamond, and I'm paying my mortgage payment. And I sat there in awe thinking, I started in the same month, and I'm only emerald, and I'm not even really covering my Shakeology on a monthly basis. And it was at that minute that I just started feverishly taking notes, and I listened to all the speakers and what you needed to do, and it was a game plan training, so it was very detailed into some of the things we needed to do. And it was at that moment that I realized I am not a product of the product. So what if I'm fit? I am not walking the walk. I'm not promoting Team Beachbody the way it should be. So I left that game plan training with a whole new outlook on how to run my business, and I realized I needed to be on Shakeology Home Direct. I needed to be doing one of our fitness programs, and that's where I needed to start and revamp everything. So the following week I made Ruby. The week after that I made Diamond. And then that week I also decided to start my Fit Club, which is still running today. It's called the Fit and Funky Fit Club, and we meet once a week. And I started my first round of P90X. And honestly, that is the true defining moment in my business. I know that a lot of people talk about how you can have your join date and your start date. So I may have joined in April of 2010, but my true start date was in November. So once I truly became a product of the product, everything from there just kind of changed. Even though I was already fit, I could feel the difference in my body. I consider myself an athlete. I do CrossFit, which I don't know if a lot of people know much about that, but it's a pretty extreme sport. And I noticed just by changing my breakfast to Shakeology that I was faster, stronger, my body leaned out. You can see more of my muscle definition. And while that's not important to some people, for me it was like that was my body transformation. And people could see that. They were coming up to me, wow, you have so much energy, and wow, your body has really changed. And so while it wasn't that dramatic, 100-pound weight loss, there was a physical transformation that people could see in me. And so because of that, I was able to truly share this product, not sell it. It became as simple as just talking to people on a daily basis. Hey, this is what I do, and this is why it works for me. And even in my own classroom, as a fifth grade teacher, I see so many kids that are obese already. And I don't just mean overweight, I mean obese. Can't play at recess because they get out of breath. And we don't do a very good job in our lunchrooms of promoting healthy behavior either. So my students know, while I obviously don't feed them Shakeology or make them do push-ups in the middle of math class, they do know that I exercise and that I eat right, and actually had on a Shakeology shirt at school the other day, and one of my students says, hey, my mom does Shakeology. And I said, hey, yeah, do you know where she gets it from? Which was me. So they know, though, that I'm always drinking water and I'm eating fruit. And if there's a day where, like Teacher Appreciation Week, and they're supposed to bring snacks, they bring the other teachers candy and donuts, but they bring me almonds and bananas. And so they know the difference, and it's just kind of sad because children will only eat what is put in front of them. They don't go to the store and buy the groceries themselves. So the end of the trend of obesity that we talk about as a company, I really believe in that it starts, with the kids, and then it just translates on. I think about, my own family. My parents were healthy, so now I'm healthy. And I'm healthy, so I'm hoping my children will be healthy. And that's truly how you end the trend. So, even there too, parents would, at a parent-teacher conference, come to me, and after we were done talking about their student and, what they needed academically, they'd say, hey, I know you're really into fitness, and can you tell me more about that Shakeology you drink? And so it's just become where I don't even really have to, I prospect, but I don't really have to do it as hard as some others might, because I am just a walking product of the product. People come to me in my everyday life and on social media as well. So, once I realized that my core purpose in being a Beachbody coach was to help people, then everything else kind of fell into place. I started my Fit and Funky page on Facebook, and through that, I would say I've met so many people I would have never met before that tell me that they like to read what my workout for the day was, or, what I ate, or, why I blend my Shakeology in the garage in the morning. And, they hear the passion I have for our products and programs. And so when they need advice, they turn to me for help. And I don't just jump right away into, oh, you need Shakeology, or, oh, you need P90X. I find out about who they are and what their story is, and we start a dialogue and a friendship. And then when I do suggest our products and programs to them, they know that my intentions are pure, and so they do wind up becoming a customer or a coach because they know that I really do want to help them. One of the things that, I think in the little blurb about me was that, I could turn any no into a yes. And if you would have told me that a year and a half ago, I would have laughed. Yes, I have a very outgoing personality, but that's just always been about being fun and bubbly. I actually hate confrontation, and I fear that kind of face-to-face scenario where someone could potentially tell you no. I avoided that at all costs. But now it's just not an issue. One of the main things people will tell me is, I'm just too busy, I can't work out, or I'm just too busy, I couldn't run a business. And that's probably my favorite objection of all. And I don't jump down their throat and say, well, sure you can. But I just tell them, how it's worked for me. Yeah, I'm incredibly busy, just like you shared. I'm a full-time elementary school teacher. I teach 10 group exercise classes a week. I am a director for a semi-pro football league, and I do CrossFit, and I just have my family to run, but I make time. I wake up 30 minutes earlier than I used to, and I go to bed 30 minutes later. And that 30 minutes in the morning and in the evening, focused, uninterrupted time has really made such a difference. And so when I talk to people about that, I just ask them, where could you find 30 extra minutes? And it's really hard for people to tell me, well, I can't. Everyone knows that we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and it's just how you use it. So I really just try to talk to people on a personal level. I don't jump down their throat. I honor what their objection is, but then I just tell them how I was able to overcome that. Same with a lot of people will tell me they're not ready to be a coach yet because they're not as fit as me. And that one always makes me laugh. I actually sometimes think that that's a hindrance for me, that those people that, start their journey with Beachbody and have this great transformation, I actually think sometimes that that's more powerful, and a lot of people can identify with that better. So I always say that, being fit isn't obviously not a requirement to being a Beachbody coach, but for me, sometimes it's even a hindrance. Or people will say, oh, but you work at a gym, and so you have all those contacts. I can't even mention it at the gym I work in because it's considered a conflict of interest. So I think a lot of people have preconceived notions about what being a coach is or what makes a coach successful. And when you listen to all these national coach calls, you hear how different we truly are and how different we go about it, yet we're all still successful. So when somebody comes with me at a no, I just try to listen to them, honor their no, but tell them how I've been able to make that no into something that's a positive for me. Even my own team of coaches, when I heard that number out loud, like 85 personally sponsored coaches, that's crazy. That was actually pretty exciting for me to really hear it said out loud. But a lot of my coaches will even say that to me when we're doing their Get Started Right interview. I just can't do what you do. And they absolutely can. In my classroom, I kind of use this model of I do, we do, you do. So, for example, if I was teaching long division, I would model that first. We would then do that together, and then the students would do it on their own with independent practice. So that's kind of how I feel with my coaches. I do first, so a great example would be the GSR. I'm going to do that first, get it started right interview with you, and we're going to go through that process, and I'm going to get to know you and get you started right. And then when that coach finds their first coach and they're nervous and they don't know what to do, we're going to do that GSR together on a 3-way call or face-to-face all together so that I can model the right way for you to do that and the best way to make that connection. And then eventually you do. That coach is going to go out and they're going to do that on their own. And I just feel like that's an easy model for anybody to use. I do, we do, you do, and that can be done whether it's, getting a coach sponsored correctly or getting a customer sponsored correctly. A lot of times I'll run a challenge with doing one of